Hello everyone, I am Surrenderlot Reviews and I'm back, and I'm ready to look at some Star Wars Clone Wars, and I'm talking about the miniseries that was released in 2003, not Star Wars The Clone Wars. But before I get started, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and if I can't convince you, perhaps this picture of my cats will convince you. And random fact about my cat society is that apparently somebody here decided to make an entirely new currency called the Millipenny. But without further ado, let's get into this. So the first half of the series takes place actually after Attack of the Clones, and it basically kind of just fills in the blanks between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. But without further ado, let's get into this. So the series starts off with Yoda so kindly explaining exactly what is going on.
Like fire across the galaxy, the Clone Wars spread. In league with the wicked Count Dooku, more and more planets slip. Against this threat, upon the Jedi Knights falls the duty to lead the newly formed army of the Republic. And as the heat of war grows, so too grows the prowess of one most gifted student of the Force.
Anyways, so with the Republic being stretched just a little thin, they're gonna have to go take Munilis to, go tell the banking clan to please stop funding the Separatists. And so they send Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi to go deal with the Munes. And Chancellor Palpatine decides to stroke Anakin's pride a little by having him command Obi-Wan's space forces, much to the, dismay of Obi-Wan. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan commands these ARC troopers here to do something for later. And Obi-Wan has a bit of a talk with Anakin here.
Master, I know you don't think I'm ready for a command of my own, but I am the best pilot in the Order. Chancellor Palpatine knows it. I don't know why you can't.
Padawan, your skills have never been in question. It is your maturity. I've argued this before, but the decision has been made. May the Force be with you, Commander.
Which, I will say that I like this scene here because it kind of shows that while Anakin Skywalker's really powerful, he's still, 19 years old, and, it might not be a great idea to take a 19-year-old and have them lead an army into battle, but that's kind of something that Palpatine is using to slowly corrupt Anakin Skywalker. And, for the Jedi Order, what do they think is going to happen when you take teenagers and have them lead troops into battle? That might sound like a bit of a bad idea, probably because it is, and, you know, not like teenagers are kind of known for making some dumb decisions, you know, not like I've been a teenager before or anything like that, so I probably know. And so, the battle begins, and, Obi-Wan has the ARC troopers go off on a bit of a detour to go destroy some guns, and after dealing with some minor turbulence and a few, not great neighbors, and, you know, some of those neighbors also just happen to have a tank license, they end up destroying a massive mortar gun, and, yeah, I'm just gonna say this here. I mean, one thing I like about the scene here is just how quiet it is and how we don't hear Fordo, this guy here, speaking until like about halfway through the scene, and he kind of just you know what he's talking about to his troops just by the hand motions and just by what the troops do, and it makes him seem really cool. And yeah, Fordo's basically just Proto-Rex, this guy here, in case anybody doesn't know. And, yeah, this scene is really cool, and Fordo is really cool in this whole series, especially later on. And after a quick detour to Mon Cala, where Kit Fisto has to fight off the Separatists and the Quarren Isolation League with their, very questionable, back design. Yeah, and we get back to Obi-Wan on Munilist, and well, the Munes are pretty desperate, so they ultimately just send a bunch of Lancer battalions, and they do pretty good against the Republic artillery. Meanwhile, with Count Dooku on this planet, well...
Impressive. You mask your presence well. Flawless timing, perfect control. You have great skill of infiltration. My host would applaud your abilities posthumously. However, I am not looking for a spy.
He gets quite a show from Asajj Ventress, where she basically makes short work of everybody in the arena pretty easily. Even causing this one person here to actually go kill how many people in that audience booth, and yeah, he is quite impressed in this scene here.
You are more powerful than I had sensed.
The dark side is strong in me, for I am Sith.
A bold claim, but you are not Sith. You wear the trappings of the Sith, you fight like the Sith, but this can be imitated, however. You lack a vital quality found in all Sith. Sith have no fear, and I sense much fear in you.
You are a foolish old man who knows nothing of the dark side.
Indeed.
And after dueling Ventress a bit more, well, Dooku and Sidious are both very impressed by Asajj Ventress and decide to send her to go after Anakin Skywalker. Meanwhile, with Obi-Wan and Anakin on Munilist, well, Obi-Wan sees what's happening with the Lancer battalions, and, we get this really cool scene here. And after a fight on the ground, on foot, with this guy here, Obi-Wan manages to defeat this guy, but, yeah, this guy might not be that defeated, and Obi-Wan gets a message that, the ARC troopers are in position. And when Obi-Wan gets there, well, they end up taking the command center, but, turns out that guy from earlier was actually not defeated so easily, and, yeah, it turns out after blowing him up a bunch of times, they actually just revealed what he is underneath his armor, and he's a bunch of fleshy thingies. And he ends up swallowing up Obi-Wan Kenobi. And when Fordo zaps him, well, yeah, that guy isn't really too happy about it, but luckily, Obi-Wan blows him up on the inside. And he's probably not actually that defeated, but he does get the Munes to surrender, so that's a plus. And in space, Anakin has things pretty under control, with him being really great at flying, and he actually helps destroy a bunch of the platforms until this fighter here comes by and ends up destroying a bunch of the fighters. So Anakin ends up deciding to chase this fighter through the streets, and that fighter ends up jumping to hyperspace to somewhere, and Anakin decides to follow, much to the dismay of Obi-Wan again. And meanwhile, with Mace Windu on this planet here, well, he is having to face a massive army of droids, and they brought a bit of a machine to shake things up a little, and after losing his lightsaber, Mace Windu just does the absolute coolest thing ever. Okay, funny story, when I first played the, Star Wars Battlefront 2, the EA, 2017 version, I actually would, play as Lando and basically just start punching all my enemies to death, on the, Camino map, specifically the droids, and, that is just something I remember doing, and, when I did that, I remembered this scene here, and I just thought, yeah, I guess I should just bring it up now because this is just a fun memory for me. Just with how Mace Windu just casually ended up punching a bunch of battle droids to death, and how he used the Force to destroy all those battle droids. That was just yes, this is awesome. I love this scene here. Anyways, so on Ilum, this icy planet here, well, while Barriss Offee is completing her training, some droids come by to, do some unscheduled demolition on the place. And after a brief fight, well, Luminara and Dooley and Barasafi are gonna have to ask for help from Yoda. And Yoda does this here.
You cannot risk the Senator's life like this. Milady, I must protest.
Very little time there is, Senator. Our only hope to rescue Jedi. To Ilum, we must go now.
This is not a rescue ship. May I remind our Master Jedi we have a more pressing mission.
A slight detour. Jeopardize the mission? It will not.
A slight detour. Jeopardize the mission, it will not.
Be put in danger. The Senator will not.
Be put in danger, the Senator will not.
Save the lives of Jedi. We must.
Save the lives of Jedi, we must.
Master Yoda, I am convinced. I will not require my captain's further persuasion.
Huh?
Captain, make best possible speed to Ilum.
Yes, milady.
Yeah, I can't see any way how this could be, taken the wrong way by, anybody. You know, Yoda just casually, mind trick somebody to, convince somebody else to, willingly go along with his idea. That doesn't sound bad or something that could be taken in any wrong way, you know, years later by adult me or anybody else. Anyways, so Yoda goes off to go save the Jedi, and, well, after dealing with a few of these cloaked droids, Padme's a little worried about Yoda, so she goes out with R2-D2 and C-3PO to go, find Yoda, and, she, in the process, also casually proves that she's probably colder than an actual Sith Lord, and, well, Yoda's successful in saving the Jedi, but he, is a bit disturbed by who ended up sending those droids.
You will find the temple on Ilum. Destroy it.
I mean, geez, Yoda, who'd you think it was? Jake from State Farm? I mean, Dooku probably would maybe do something like this. He only casually betrayed you once. I'm sure he could probably, you know, do more destruction to the Jedi Order while he's at it. Meanwhile, with Anakin Skywalker, well, he tracks Ventress to Yavin 4, which is definitely not a planet that will come in handy later in the Star Wars saga. And, after some troops land and quickly get picked off by Ventress, well, Anakin's gonna have to fight Ventress alone. And, I will say that I really like this fight. I like how it uses silence to its advantage in some places, and just how it has the perfect balance between using the Force and the lightsaber, and I also really like how, both combatants actually use the terrain to their advantage, and, you know, with Ventress basically throwing stones at Skywalker, and I really like this end part here. And I gotta say, I think the music definitely helps carry this scene, as well as the visuals, because I really like how the music shifts from Duel of Fates to at the end where it's the Imperial March, kind of showing that, yeah, Anakin Skywalker is basically turning to the dark side, and yeah, this is kind of more or less one of those points that is going to eventually push him to the dark side, and I really like how the red just shows Anakin's future fate as Darth Vader, and yeah, I gotta say that that part where Anakin Skywalker just grabbed both of Ventress's arms and then just basically crushed her left arm to get her lightsaber, yeah, that was a really chilling shot there, so gotta say that was really good on the art direction team. Anyways, so Anakin Skywalker ends up returning to Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Obi-Wan Kenobi decides to scold Anakin for going off on his own like that, and Obi-Wan gets a distress call from a Jedi Master on Hypori that something's going really wrong there, and that really wrong thing there is, well, this guy here.
Steady. No!
And in this fight, Grievous takes on several Jedi at once, and he whittles them down until it's just Ki-Adi-Mundi and him, and, well, the first part just ends like this. And yeah, I gotta say, this is the perfect way to introduce Grievous, where you don't really introduce him as just like your regular typical Saturday morning cartoon villain. You quite literally just introduce him as, okay, yeah, this guy here is a threat. He was only able to take on several Jedi at once, and yeah, just how it cuts to a cliffhanger. That was just perfect. And overall, I will say that this first parter is really good, and I would highly recommend you watch it. And sure, I will say some parts kind of are just filler, but still, they're really great, so I really don't care. So that's really just all I gotta say. And yeah, I think with that, that's gonna do it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.